Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, let's start with this. Amy and I just finished our interview with our guest today, a phenomenal person, and I just said to you, I'm a little sweaty.
Same.
I got a little bit of like armpit sweat, and I didn't even know that I did until it was over, and I was like, oh my gosh. I think he gives me, I don't know how to say this, the flutters.
Sure.
Is that?
I mean, I expected that.
Yeah.
I actually used Brad's Old Spice this morning instead of my normal, natural.
Oh, I see.
It didn't matter.
No, did you sweat through it? Me too. I kind of want to fan myself right now. Well, I have a deodorant problem, which is a terrible thing when you're going to interview Stanley Tucci. I mean, I didn't want to bury that lead. Golly. He is, what is the deal with him, man?
I don't know. It's
Like his natural charm is, he's so magnetic a person. It's you can't
so-
teach that.
and so authentic and easy.
Yeah.
Like as nervous as I was.
Sure.
It was just a lovely conversation.
It was easy breezy. It went away in a second.
Yeah.
He's just, I have loved him for a big time, long time. Like when you go through like the Stanley Tucci canon, you start going, oh my gosh,
Yes.
this dude,
Everywhere.
like he is a success in like 10 different categories. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this before we kind of get to it. Do you, over all the years, do you have a favorite Tucci, whatever, show, movie, just done a ton of theater,
Yeah.
whatever?
I would have said a different answer a couple of years ago. And loved him and all the normal things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Big Night. And he's a great actor.
Yes.
His CNN show, it's great.
Love.
The Italy show.
Oh my God, I've seen every single episode.
But I think the thing that I can actually reconstruct how it made me feel in that exact moment is that first time he made a cocktail for his wife on Instagram during COVID.
Cute.
It was just such a one-off.
Yeah.
She just
Such a
filmed him
cute
making
memory.
a cocktail, but that set off a whole new category of fame and following for
Yeah,
him. Just
you're right.
because it was, that was a time when some of us stayed in the same pajamas for 7 to 10 days.
Correct.
And he was spiffy and making a cocktail. And
Spiffy.
I know.
That's a good one.
I just saw that and was like,
I know. And his wife is just such a lovely thing. And the way they are together is so cute. She's with him a lot, actually, in Searching for Italy. It's hard to pick a fave. Mm-hmm. I'll just be honest, and I'm sorry if this is just too obvious, but Stanley Tucci in The Devil Wears Prada is like chef's kiss. Like that character, he wore that character like it was tailor-made for him. Mm-hmm. Everything about it, from being absolutely bespoke the whole time. I mean, he's bespoke. And sort of flamboyant / suave. Mm-hmm. Everything. I think that the Devil Wears Prada is probably when I got radicalized for Stanley Tucci. And then it just never ended. I mean, we'll just be really honest with you guys listening. When our team was like, okay, Stanley's coming on the show, we didn't handle it well.
We did. Well, we sent a lot of Stanley Tucci
Gifts. Yeah, we sure did. I sent one this very morning.
You sure did.
Oh, I was about to say what it said, but then I realized it might have devolved into, well, let's just say PG-13 plus content. And we'll do what we want. We're grown. You know what I mean?
Right, but we don't have to talk about it.
You're right. But we will have a crush on our guest if we want to.
Yes.
So he is I cannot wait for everybody to listen to this. I told Amy right when we finished interviewing him, I'm like, I don't know if this makes sense, but talking to him was just like talking to him. Meaning he's exactly the lovely, charming, easy, connective type of person we all think he is. Like, I'm like, yeah, there you just were, talking to us with your normal self.
Same on his shows.
Yep.
Same on the internet.
Yep.
Same on our screens.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a good
Solid.
word. So we're going to do a couple segments before we bring him on.
Okay.
First one, culture shock. In honor of Stanley and talking about the culture of food, because we're primarily talking about his brand new book, which we'll get to that in a minute, but it is centered around food. I want to ask you this question.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I think I know what you're going to say. Let me think in my brain. Well, let's find out. If you could only eat food from one country, like one specific cuisine for the rest of your life, it's all you get. What is it?
Do you want to guess?
Well, see, the thing is, the problem is because you're like San Antonio and kind of like hill country type, there's a teeny bit of me that, and you like beer, it makes me want to say German, but that's too hefty. It's that's not
much.
it, right?
Right.
Just go ahead.
Mexican.
Oh, yeah. That's the second one.
Mexican. Except interior.
Oh, like Oaxaca.
Yeah. We don't eat a lot of seafood. But yeah, everything on the interior. And honestly, I feel like that's cheating because Mexican food it can be all over the map. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually.
for us, the through line is corn, and we're gluten free, so it's naturally. But also, I mean, tacos can be absolutely anything you can dream up.
If you can put it inside a tortilla, it is a
Yeah.
taco.
But I really do love, I love the vegetables. I love the beef.
It's so good.
My sister married into a Venezuelan and Mexican family. So I also do love Venezuelan food. And her father-in-law, it cooks like you just wouldn't even believe.
For real?
I mean, can feed 30 people, with zero notice. And it's always
Love people like that.
3 different homemade salsas. Always in his back pocket.
Yes.
I love it. It's all delicious.
Okay, that's a good answer.
What's yours?
It's a really good answer. And sometime we're going to have to talk about the difference between like what we primarily experience here, which is Tex-Mex. And that's its own.
That is a different cuisine.
Yeah, it's its own thing. I will say that I love it. I'm here for it, but that's also different. Okay. I would say that if I could only pick one country, and that is where I must eat for the rest of my life, it would be Thailand. Give me all the Thai food. Give it to me every day. Give it to me all the times. It hits also, it's a gluten-free delight.
Yes.
Like rice noodles, glass noodles. Noodles was the thing / bread that I missed the most when I had to go gluten-free. I love noodles. And then Large Innings was like, excuse me, ma'am, go get yourself a bowl of Thai food. And I was like, oh my God,
Yes.
thank you for knowing about that.
Thai is our second go-to out to eat.
Oh my gosh.
I would say all Thai food except for the seafood.
Because you just don't like seafood? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me because you care about eating good things and seafood is the best thing.
I think my people long ago have always been landlocked.
I see what you're saying.
So it's just not in my bones. But
Okay.
yes, Thai food hits
Oh my God, sweet,
all the notes.
spicy, savory, saucy. That's it. I can't. Penang curry, all of it. I have no downside. So, Sydney is in Thailand as we speak, as you and I sit here.
Yes.
And she's been in Malaysia and she's going to finish out her around the world tour in Vietnam. So it's all like Southeast Asia. And she just sends me constant food pictures. And I'm like, this feels so mean. And she'll show me 10 little bowls full of stuff in front of her. And she's like, this was $4. And I'm like, I want to be there. Anyway, Ty, I will say, if I had to pick a second, well, I mean, you can see my type. My second food would be Indian. I like it over there. I like that part of the world. They got it down for me, like all those spices. Okay. One more. Let's do rant or rave.
It's time for rant or rave, where we rant or we rave.
Part of Stanley's new book is, well, not part of, the center spoke of the wheel is what he ate in a year. That's the name of the book, what I ate in a year. And so he's eating really all around the world. So it also involves a lot of travel, as does his show, Searching for Italy, which we were just talking about. So, travel. Rant or rave?
Oh.
Rant or rave. I'm going to put just the big banner over it, and you can pick however you want. Travel.
Rave.
Rave. Rave.
100%, all of it, good and bad.
Yeah.
Like, till my dying day.
Speak on it.
I actually didn't grow up traveling very far. We went to New Mexico every summer, every winter.
Yep, same.
Visit family. That was it. But I got a job in my early 20s where I traveled for work,
Oh, yeah.
like in the trade show industry.
Yep.
So New York, Chicago, San Francisco. And I was super nervous about it in the beginning. And then at some point, I just realized I could do what I want. I could fly in early and go see what I wanted to see. Like, I didn't have to go to, my coworkers were amazing, but I could not keep up with dinner out every night.
Yeah.
And so I just started doing my own thing. Really, in New York is where I started. Like, I went ice skating at Rockefeller by myself.
That's amazing. Like in your 20s?
And then I ate by myself for the very first time.
Yeah.
I couldn't have imagined eating by myself.
Totally. I didn't do that till my 40s.
And then I did that and I was like, what is the big deal?
You're like, I love me.
Well,
Let's not get crazy.
I don't get crazy, but I like doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
yes,
that's
I
good.
just,
That's good. If under the umbrella of rave, which clearly travel is for me too, do you have a tiny little baby rant? I mean, you've had enough. Some of your travel stuff's weird, and some of it has gone sideways, and I know this. I
I know you're probably imagining like going sideways, meaning like wildlife encounters or
Broken arms.
danger, broken arms. All of that has happened.
I know.
But I think the most stressed I've been and had to handle it on my own, like no other grown-ups, was New York City just a couple of years ago.
Wait, I can't think of this.
I drove my kids and one of the girlfriends to New Jersey to stay with a friend for a couple of weeks. She had a rented house in Ocean City. And while we were there, one day I was like, New York's only 2 hours away.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just take all the kids by myself for one day.
Okay.
So I took my friends'
So
girls
you're talking
also,
about all 4 sons plus a girlfriend.
plus my friends' girls.
Oh, God.
So I had 7
Jeez.
kids, but like,
And they're all high school
12
and middle school?
12 to 20.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I planned it all out. I got the double-decker bus pass. I parked in a parking garage.
Okay.
Like in Jersey City, like
And then,
Port Authority. Took the train over. I had the whole thing planned out.
okay, that's very...
It was a Wednesday. And then we got off the double-decker bus
Yeah.
because I thought it was hop on, hop off.
Sure.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't that.
So we couldn't
So
get
you
back
lost
on.
your ride is your point.
I bought all 8 subway tickets on the Jersey side with my debit card, and it flagged it for fraud because it was so many transactions.
They're like, what's this bitch doing?
And I could not get my bank to like lift it. It was like the Port Authority flagged me. So then we were stuck Like I wanted to go to the Met. Like I wanted to go to the park.
Of course
I
you
wanted
did.
to see Uptown. I'd promised them this whole day.
And those kids don't have any money.
We walked 1,000 miles to Times Square, ate our lunch. It was also really hot that day because it was August or something.
Oh, no. My least
Anyway.
favorite time to be there.
I borrowed one of the kids' debit cards, got us back on the subway, went to the Met. It's closed every Wednesday.
Oh, no. And the thing is, you love that place.
I love it so
Like,
much.
my memory is going back 10 years when I would go to New York, and you're like, I really don't want to hear about your trip unless you go to the Met. In
Yes.
which case, tell me everything. Like, that's your required
Right.
stop.
But
It's closed on Wednesday.
I didn't go often enough to remember it was closed on Wednesday.
I'm curious. I have a question about this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a compounded, stressful situation. We don't have a bus anymore. We don't have subway. My debit card is frozen. I'm hot. And we're walking too far.
Yes.
I'm curious what you were then like. Like, how did this manifest in your, the way that you were behaving?
Panicky, but not ragey.
Oh, okay. I think I might have
But-
gotten ragey.
Because we were standing on the steps of the Met already, I was like, just going to the park. Like, it's shady. There's cool grass. I borrowed someone else's debit card, bought everybody a frozen lemonade, and we just laid in the grass under a tree for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh. While you just regrouped.
Yes,
Yeah.
but like,
Well, also
it
that's
redeemed
nice.
it.
Yeah.
It was like,
nice.
we ended up spending so much time in the park. And then another kid's debit card got us back on the subway.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, we can't go street level. Like, once we're in, we have to stay in. So we just never.
That's
like,
it.
Like, they wanted to see Grand Central Station. I talked about the ceiling, all that. I was like,
sorry.
We can't go upstairs.
Sorry.
We have to
We're
stay
underground now.
in the bowels.
That's right.
And then
Oh,
we made it home. It was fine. But that's the most sideways I think something's gone, where there wasn't another adult to fix it.
where was your friend?
At home, like, she's got littles. And so
my
also my car holds 8 people.
Yeah.
I was the driver and 7 kids. So
Well, that was ambitious, and I would like to say foolish. And I mean that nicely.
but I have a couple of kids who actually want to go back to the city someday.
Sure, they don't understand that stress.
Others are like, that was enough for me.
Sure. Well, I mean, you probably remember this, but maybe, let me just do the math. Maybe 7 or 8 years ago, at least, I went with my family of origin to New York, my mom and dad, and Drew and Courtney. And that's when Lindsay worked up there.
Lindsay was still there.
She was there. She was at the restaurant. And we took an OG King trip to New York. As you know, Larry King's never been to New York. This isn't his jam. And neither had my brother. And I remember Drew saying, I'm going to wear, it was Christmas. It was December. So it was magical. And he's like, I'm like, it's cold. That wind whips down the streets. It's hard to explain, but it gets really cold. You're going to want a scarf. He's like, I'm not wearing a scarf. He's like, I'm like a dude and I'm not wearing a scarf. And we're like, well, you're dumb. We had been there, I'm going to say 4 minutes outside of our hotel, walking to our first thing. And he was like, my neck is so cold. I'm like, well, you're an idiot. So he buys the first one off a street vendor. And then also, because he didn't listen to us, he was like, I'm going to wear my cowboy boots. I'm like, buddy, it's a marathon a day. Like, it's hard to explain to you how much we're going to be walking. He's like, no, they're comfortable. I'm like, no cowboy boots are as comfortable as New Balance tennis shoes. Please believe me. No, that dumb.
Also, your feet get so cold in cowboy boots.
So cold. That was the worst shoe that could have been ever packed. That's what he had. So he got to walk around on swollen cold feet for 4 days. But anyway, my point is, I don't know if I had one. But at the end of the trip, of course, December in New York, how quickly can I move here? I'm completely enamored. We did all of the things. And my dad is like, so I think for me, it'd be okay if I never come here again. Drew too. He's like, I've had enough. So anyway, New York, either you love that level of kind of chaos and stimulation, or you absolutely do not. And the men in my family are an absolutely do not category. Okay. Let's get to it.
Okay.
Let's get to it. We've made them wait too long. Let's talk about Stanley Tucci today, you guys. Stanley Tucci. Just in case you I don't know, you've been missing for a couple of decades. So he's not just an actor. Like, Stanley is a very multi-talented. He is a writer. He is a producer. He is a director. He is a food guy, like a big time culinary savant. Stanley has directed 5 films. He's appeared in over 70 at 70.
Wow.
I know. Tons of shows and plays under his belt. He has 2 Golden Globes, 6 Emmys, a nomination for an Academy Award, a Tony. Like, he's won all the awards that there are. There aren't any left. He has them all. And so today specifically, we are going to talk about Stanley's new book, which is coming out right now. And it is called What I Ate in 1 Year and Related Thoughts. And it's exactly what you think. He is writing through a year in his life, all the places that he ate, which is everything from a film set to another country to his own kitchen and everything in between, who he ate with, what he ate. And so it really is kind of the story of a year, but with food as the center point of the story, which I absolutely love that structure. So it's very memoir-y. And it's got some recipes in there. It's like beautiful writing. I mean, if you can think of Stanley Tucci, like the way he talks and the way he is, that's also the way he writes. And so it's just a delight, to be honest with you. But it also includes some real life stuff. He's got loss in there. He talks about the role essentially food plays in our hardest moments, like in our grief and as we're aging. So it's real. It's real. It's all in there. You're going to love it, of course. It is a follow-up to his last bestseller, which was called Taste, My Life Through Food. We loved it. We love him. We love hearing him talk about the process, his stories, his people, his places. He is so charming that it's dumb. And come on.
They'll see.
We need to add nothing to Stanley Tucci. Don't touch. Just put him on a shelf, preserve him for posterity. He cannot be improved upon. And so with that, grab your favorite cup of tea or whatever it is that you enjoy. Maybe in honor of Stanley, a beautiful glass of Italian red wine, and enjoy this conversation with me and with Amy and the incomparable Stanley Tucci. Well, it seems silly to introduce you. That seems dumb. Let me just waste words right out of the gate this morning. But Stanley Tucci, welcome to our show.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
We're
you.
so happy to see you. Look at you. There you are.
I'm so happy to be here.
It's just, we have had a lot. We've been talking about you a lot behind your back, and it's all good. Yeah,
Oh,
it's all good.
All right.
And so, we're just thrilled to talk to you. We've obviously, Amy and I are both longtime fans. Who isn't? Literally, find me a person. And so excited about your new project. You're such a Renaissance man. I guess you can do everything. Are you going to start a band next? Is that on the docket or no?
No. No. I did want to be a drummer. I studied drumming when I was a kid, and I loved it. But I got to this one level,
Yeah.
and then my interests went elsewhere. But I keep threatening myself that I should, pick it up again and really learn properly.
I mean, listen, it's not too late for you to make something of yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. No,
you
you're
still
right.
got time.
You're right.
Just keep at it, and we
You're
feel
right.
so good about your chances. you're just a profound communicator in general, so it should be no surprise that you're a good writer.
Thank
That
you.
that translates to the page, and it really does. And so we'd love to hear. Let's start 35,000 foot view on what I ate in 1 year. So clever. The title alone, I'd pick it up off the shelf.
Yeah,
The title
it's
alone.
it was my wife's idea.
Was it?
Yeah,
Well done.
Good woman.
yeah.
Good
I'd
woman.
love to take credit for it, but no.
Yeah, you were probably finagling around with something like artistic or beautiful or lyrical.
Yeah.
She's like, how about what I ate in 1 year?
Yeah.
Let's just like go right on the nose.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know what to write to begin with because the publishers on both sides of the Atlantic said, "We want you to write another book," and I was like, "I don't know what to write." And my wife said, "Just write what you eat in 1 year." And I was like, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah, do that."
Yeah.
Well,
So I
thank
did,
you.
and then once you focus on like,
Yeah.
the mundane,
Sure.
all this other stuff just comes out.
Well, it turns out what you eat in 1 year encompasses a whole life.
Yeah.
Where you've gone and who you love and what you've seen and what you're experiencing. So it's such a good structure to tell
No,
a good
it's
story.
A brilliant structure. I know.
Yeah.
She's so smart. I mean, she reads a book a minute. I mean, she's incredibly smart.
And pretty. Listen,
She's pretty.
good job, you.
Yeah.
She's a multi-hyphenate,
I like her.
a beautiful, smart, interesting person. Let's talk about, I think one through line that you include in this particular book is the pairing, if you will, of food and meals and memories and people with emotions, particularly loss or grief, because I think that essentially you posit that food belongs in our hardest moments too, not just our celebratory ones. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about that, your decision to include that piece of the pie, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, how can you write a book about, in essence, about the passage of time without including aging, loss, death, particularly as a person my age? I mean, it would be weird that those things wouldn't be integral to that story. If you're a young person, you might want to write a very cheery book about food, and everything's great and everything's delicious. But the older you get, you accept the sadness, you experience the loss, you're inching towards death, and food is just a part of life, which means it's a part of death too. I mean, why, when someone dies, at least in the Italians do this. When somebody would die, you would instantly cook a huge thing for the family
Yeah.
and bring it over to the house so that they had it there, so that they didn't have to bother with the cooking. It was absolutely the first thing that people do. And I think that's really beautiful.
I do too.
It says that I'm giving you something you need, which is you need to eat, and you're going to be so sad that you're probably not going to think you need to eat, but you do. And you also probably aren't going to have the time to make something to eat. So I'm going to give you something that will sustain you and keep you going, and it's of me.
That's right.
It means I love you, and I love that person who passed away.
That's lovely.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
And crosses cultures.
for sure.
We're not as good at that here. But
Yeah, but it's like the welcome wagon, but it's like it's sort of the opposite of the welcome wagon. I guess
It's
like
the goodbye
person's
wagon.
dead,
The
they're
farewell.
It's the
gone.
farewell.
Somebody
Yes.
else is welcoming them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's the what I remember my mother used to say if a new neighbor would move in, she'd go, I'm gonna make them
Yeah.
a thing,
Yep.
and you go over and bring it. She said, bring this over to them. Of course,
right.
you're embarrassed as a kid. You go like, oh God, but it's a lovely gesture. I think
Yes.
that has disappeared
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I grew up learning that too. That's how my grandma did. That's how my mom did.
Yeah.
We feed you if you're a new friend. We feed you if you're an old friend.
Yeah.
But that equals love.
Yeah.
And it still does to me. When
Yeah.
somebody
Did you-
brings me bread, that's my person. That let's get married, you know?
Where did you grow up?
I grew up actually in Kansas, so we had this Midwestern
Wow.
kind of hearty,
Yeah.
carb-centric
Yeah.
culinary life.
Yeah.
And I say that in glowing terms.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
what we learned. What are you
Yeah.
going to do? You get down the flour, you get down the yeast, you make somebody bread, you bring
Yes.
over some butter. That
Yeah.
says love.
Yeah. My late wife, was from the Midwest. She was from Wisconsin.
Yep.
And as was her mom. And her dad was originally from Oklahoma, but moved
Oh,
to
yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And so it was all that real Midwestern. And there are so many things that are so similar. I think particularly many years ago it's going to sound funny, with Italian culture, like what you just described, which is, I'm going to give you this.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that will help us bond. And this is the thing that will sustain you, but it will also sustain our relationship.
Gosh, I love Italian culture for these reasons. I was in Italy one time, and we were on a tour with our guide had his master's in Italian history, so he knew about every single rock on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And he was a very no-nonsense academic. He didn't specialize in, I would say, charm or satire per se, but definitely facts and information.
Yeah.
And at one point he said to us, and we were all Texan, and he wasn't trying to be ironic or funny. We were saying something about this hospitable culture that Italy just emanates, and how lovely it is and how much we love it. And he just said, well, you're American, you're just babies, you don't know anything. He's like, live 1,000 more years and then you'll know something. And we went, well, it's not unfair. Like, we
It's
accept
not
that
unfair,
proclamation.
but it's a bit brutal.
A little bit brutal, but I mean, but where's the
True.
lie? Yeah.
No,
So
it's
true.
in 1,000 years, we're going to understand this hospitable culture for sure.
You've shared some intimate moments through your meals with all sorts of people. What is one or two that really made a lasting impression on you as
Yeah.
you chronicled this whole year?
I think, what I wrote about at the end of the book, and the last thing when I sat with the kids and we had our meal together, which is what we're trying to do more often, when Matteo said, I just like it. I like it so much more when we all eat together. I want to cry just thinking about it now. I love that. I think also having, eating with my folks, obviously, whether it's here or visiting them. But the birthday party that I had at one of my favorite restaurants here with a lot of friends, people who sort of knew, some people knew each other already, some people didn't, that sort of raucous dinner was just one of the greatest nights ever. There's all these people that I love who make me laugh more than anyone. And they all love to eat. They all love a glass of wine. And we just had the best time. It was one of the best birthdays I've ever had. And thanks to Felicity, of course, who organized it.
Oh, that's a good one.
That
That's a
is.
good memory. I want to know, because you gave yourself this kind of gift of examinations, or like you're deeply paying attention now for a year, where you're eating, what you're eating, with whom, everything about it, which sometimes that can go sort of unnoticed really in the minutia of life, like you mentioned earlier. But I'm curious, after a year of really paying attention, because you ate in so many different settings, like your own kitchen, other countries, a film set, like it's so varied.
Yeah.
What would you say at the end of that year you've concluded in terms of how the environment influences the experience? Like, how much does the place matter?
Yeah, the place is, the place is crucial. It's crucial in a weird way. Like, it can change the taste of things. Eating outdoors makes things taste better, which is what I wrote
I
about.
stand by that.
Too. Yeah. Well,
Agree.
why?
Yeah, absolute stand by that.
Why is that? I don't know. I think that eating with certain people, even if you're in like a really shitty place,
Sure.
and you're eating with people that you love, it's like, you don't care.
Yep.
You can laugh about it. And even if the food is terrible,
That's right.
it'll be a memorable meal. But there is something about, it's odd. I remember having this, I didn't write about this in the book, but I think I wrote about it in the first book. I do remember having a bottle of wine with my late wife when we were skiing one time, and had this bottle of wine at lunch, nothing fancy. And I just remember it tasting so divine. And then I had that wine, a couple of years later, and it was good,
was
but
okay,
it wasn't the
yeah.
same. It was not the same. Now, was it the exact same vintage or whatever? But usually they're pretty, it was totally different.
That's right.
Totally different.
Yeah. Company and place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there one meal that you talk about in your book that you did eat over and over in different settings?
Oh.
Like, what's your go-to?
I will normally go for some kind of pasta.
Certainly.
Probably pasta with tomato because it's safe. Because you don't know where you're, what the restaurant's like or what, you know what I
Sure.
mean? If you're like so you always try to do something that somebody can't.
Hardly mess up. Right.
Yeah, but then it depends too. I mean, they can mess that up. Also because I know that I'm still limited as to what I can eat, so I can't just sort of go like, I'll have a big steak, simply because of the cancer treatment. So I need something that's sort of softish, and like I love hamburgers, but I don't order hamburgers in England because the beef doesn't have as much fat. I think I wrote about this. Doesn't have as much fat, and also because of the mad cow disease thing 20 some years ago. You go, can I have a rare burger? And they go, no, we can't do that.
That's right.
So
I don't want a well done burger.
no.
I'd rather just eat an extra side of fries.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Or eat your shoe or something. It's like, it's gross.
So this is a hard question to ask, having written about an entire year. Do you have an absolute favorite part of the book? Because living a book and writing a book are two different things. So the process of bringing that forth and putting language all around it and trying to sell the story that you're living that's a different muscle. So I'm curious if there was a part of the writing that you just went, this is just singing. It's just singing across the laptop.
It flowed actually, the whole thing flowed more easily than I expected it to. I love writing about my jealousy towards my wife.
Oh,
That it makes me laugh. I love writing the stuff about the kids, maybe most of all, because they make me laugh,
yeah.
and and it's like it's all true. You know, like going to the palace and meeting the king and doing the blah blah blah, and then you come home and they're like, ugh, who are you?
Totally.
You know what I mean? Ugh.
Boring.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I have
or
5
going-
kids.
That
Yeah.
what?
I said I have 5 kids. I do know what you mean.
Okay, well,
yeah.
you know, yeah. Or going through the airport. You know, I wanted each, for the most part, I didn't want every section, every day to be the same in my writing style necessarily. So that's why there's this sort of E. Cummings-ish like poem. Then there's the going through the airport thing, which is
Perfect.
written completely differently. And then there's,
Yeah.
you know, something that's a little more hyperbolic. Then there's something that's really simple. I think that's the key because that's what life is. It's not
Of
the same
course.
every day.
That's right. I love the shifting writing styles. It just tugs the reader right along.
Oh, good.
And it's
good,
interesting. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm
Thanks.
wondering, in watching you throughout the years and how you interact with food and live your life, I know you have always tried to be very present in the moment, but writing about what you eat every single day probably required a little more focus and intention. How much of that has carried over since you finished the book?
Well, the thing is, I miss writing the book. I told Felicity, as soon as I finished it, I kind of, when I had a moment, I was like, oh, I'll just go write another. And I was like, no, Stanley, you're done.
Yeah.
You know, you gave them the book. It's over. And it made me sad. It made
Yeah.
me sad.
Yeah.
So I'm going to figure out a way I want to write more, not necessarily another book like this. I don't think we need that. But in some way, just observations around food and life and the passing of time. I found it incredibly, well, it's humbling and it's comforting.
Yeah.
Something comforting about it.
It is. And I tell my kids this all the time, but we think in the moment we're going to remember something forever, but we do not.
Yeah, we don't.
It just slips away.
Yep.
And so even just the writing it down for you, just for your family and for your story has meaning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
I will send myself emails sometimes.
me too.
I'm silly. Yeah.
Yep, me too.
You know, like, Millie said this today.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know, this happened today, just so I have it.
I do that too. I send myself texts sometimes,
Yeah.
and occasionally I don't include enough details. And I come to it a week later and go, what the hell am I talking about? what am I even saying to myself? But mostly I can pin it to the board and come back to it. Okay, I have one more question for you. We would love to hear, being a writer is a big deal, and putting a book out there is a big deal. And it just becomes this symbiotic relationship with your readers. Because, once you hand a book over to the readers, it's theirs. And what they're going to do with it belongs to them. And how they're going to alchemize it belongs to them. And it's kind of out of your hands and into the zeitgeist. And so I am curious, as the creator of it, what you are hoping that your readers walk away with from this particular project. Because you've given us so much. It's an embarrassment of riches, what you have given us to entertain us and just compel us all these years. But from this particular project, what are you hoping? They close that last page and they have what?
Well, I hope that people understand the importance of food, of good food, not just food for fuel. I mean good food. And good food doesn't mean fancy food.
Of course.
Right.
Good food means good ingredients, cooked simply. And we are at a place in our culture where all those really simple things that we grew up on, or our parents grew up on, or our grandparents grew up on, it's very hard to find anymore. And the the example would be, the less you put into something now, the more it costs. And that's wrong,
It is.
Yeah.
right? So you can look in the refrigerator, there can be 3 ingredients in there. Every person should be able to say, I can make this
That's
with
good.
those ingredients, or I could make that with these ingredients. But we can't do that anymore.
That's right.
And that is that's like weird to me.
It is weird.
It is.
Yeah, and it's wrong, and it's why we have so many health issues. We have so
right.
many health issues,
Yeah.
most importantly. But I hope that people take away, sorry, I'm digressing, but I hope that people take away the importance of food and acknowledging that sharing food with people is something very much worth your time.
Love it.
It is.
That's a good thesis. We believe in it. That is how we live our lives too.
Good.
Well, we're just thrilled about it. Thanks for the work.
thank you.
Thanks for the labor, for bringing it to bear. Like, here it comes. It's about to come out in a couple of
Yeah, I
weeks.
know.
And
I know.
so exciting. And I think people are going to love it. Because
I hope
what
so.
the whole world is saying right now is we're a little bit lonely and we're a little bit disconnected.
Yep.
And we'd love to find our way back to each other and back to a simpler way of eating and living. And I think that's exactly what you were delivering here.
Yeah, I think it would be a pretty good thing for us.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Okay.
Oh, you
well,
guys are great. Thank you so much.
bye, Stanley. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here.
I'll look you up when I'm in Austin.
Yes,
Please do.
100%.
Nice to meet
100%.
Ciao. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Well, that's it. That's it. Just a casual Monday for me and you having a conversation with Stanley Tucci. It's boring. We will have all of this for you over at jenhatmaker.com under the podcast tab. So it's a lovely episode to share. If you just want to delight the people that you love, you can do it from there. Also, thank you, by the way, for subscribing. Number one, that is a really big deal. Get us pulled back into your weekly feed. It'll take 5 seconds. So wherever you listen to your podcast, just hit follow or add, and well, that's it. That's it. Now you're subscribed, and the show will just show up in your library every single week, and we appreciate that so much. Also, thank you for your reviews. Thank you for all the ratings that you give the show. All of that matters to the life and health of a show, and everything you say, we pay attention to. We listen to your comments and your feedback, and we're always interested in what you're interested in too. So thanks for letting us know. And we've got an incredible lineup coming up in the next couple of months. You're just not going to want to miss a single episode. So thanks for joining me, and thank you for joining Amy, and we will see you guys next week.